Chapter 16, Celalait, Taram, World of the Fae. Magical City of Endelgian, the Hall of the Elders, December 14th, 1998. The trio of Danny, Allure, and Zaya go before the Elders, asking permission to travel to Celalait, Taram. If they are able to visit the world of the Fae, the girls hope that they convince any of the inhuman beings from crossing over to participate in the tournament on Jockey Island. Because of its past history with the Fae, the island will likely have a strong pull towards the magical Fae to return. The Fae are known for their mastery of magic, that is often different from traditional human magic. By forging alliances with the Fae beings, the mages could gain access to new spells, enchantments, and magical techniques that could give them a competitive edge in the tournament. Their magic tends to be closely tied to nature and the elements, allowing them to manipulate the environment and summon powerful natural forces to aid them in battle. Fae are skilled illusionists, capable of weaving intricate spells of glamour to deceive and confuse their opponents. This ability to create illusions could give them a significant advantage in the tournament, allowing them to outmaneuver and outwit their adversaries. Many Fae possess the ability to shapeshift, allowing them to assume different forms and adapt to various situations. This versatility can make them unpredictable opponents, as they could change their appearance and abilities on the fly to confound their enemies. Some Fae have inherent resistance to certain types of magic, particularly dark or demonic spells. This resistance could give them an edge against any opponents who rely heavily on dark magic in combat. Fae beings have a deep connection to the natural world, often forming alliances with animals, plants, and elemental spirits. They may be able to summon creatures of the forest or call upon the forces of nature to aid them in battle, further bolstering their strength and resilience. As Danny, Allure, and Zaya step into the council hall of the elders, a wave of nervousness washes over them, their hearts pounding with trepidation. The vast chambers loom before them, filled with the weight of ancient authority and wisdom. Tall pillars stretch upward, adorned with intricate carvings that tell the stories of generations past, while the air is heavy with the scent of age-old magic. At the far end of the hall, seated upon thrones of carved stone, are the elders, wise and venerable mages whose knowledge spans the ages. Their eyes, sharp and discerning, fix upon the young petitioners as they approach, their presence radiating a sense of power and authority that is palpable. The girls exchange nervous glances, their mouths suddenly dry as they prepare to present their petition to the elders. The weight of their words hangs heavy in the air as they gather their courage, knowing that the fate of their request rests in the hands of these esteemed mages. With trembling voices, they begin to speak, their words carefully chosen as they outline their reasons for seeking out the aid of the Fae world. They speak of the challenges that lie ahead, the dangers they face, and the need for allies who can offer guidance and support in their time of need. But even as they speak, they cannot shake the feeling of intimidation that grips them, the weight of the elders' scrutiny bearing down upon them like a heavy cloak. Each word is measured, each plea carefully crafted, as they await the elders' verdict with bated breath. Esteemed council, Zaya begins, speaking for the group. She decided that it was best for her to make the petition, since Danny and the elders have never been on the best of terms. We come before you to make but a simple request. Allow us, in the remaining time that we have before the tournament, to make the briefest of journeys to Celalait, Taram. And why exactly do you need to go to the land of the Fae? Elder Guerin asks. We would like to ensure that word of Inyana's tournament has not reached their world and entice some of their darker inhabitants to venture into the human world. We are not requesting this council to lend us further resources or manpower, so we would like to attempt to recruit some of the Fae to our cause. Their unique abilities could be very beneficial to the chances of our success. Travel to Celalait, Taram is highly regulated, Elder Falv says. Only mages carefully vetted over years are selected for any tasks involving the world of the Fae. We do not have to be the ones to go. I only ask that someone represent our interests, and ask that no Fae participate in the tournament. If we already have mages stationed there, perhaps you can send word to them. I don't see that doing any harm, Elder Pola whispers to the others. All those who currently travel to Celalait Taram are trustworthy. What about Master Norlannis? Elder Guerin asks. Do you think she would be up to the task? She did spend many years in the kingdom of Doyle, tutoring the king's daughters. She has a tremendous amount of influence and goodwill with the people there, Elder Pola agrees. We will send Master Giancarlo Norlannis to Itadale to speak on your behalf, Elder Fowl says. I do not believe, however, that she will be able to return back here before you are to depart, meaning that you will not know if her trip was successful or not. Danny nods. I don't know Master Norlannis personally, but if she has spent time in that world, then she is the best suited to speak on our behalf with the citizens of Celalait Taram. I have faith in her ability, even if she is able to only discourage anyone from that world from participating. It would lower the amount of enemies we have to face. There are enough threats from our own world the way it is. I thank you for taking the time to hear me out and grant me this request. Your assistance in this matter is appreciated. Elder Favre nods. We are promising nothing. Do not get your hopes up. You are all dismissed, Elder Guerin says, ending the meeting. Rest or prepare. Just make sure that you meet back up with us at the teleportation circle in 4 hours. We will personally be constructing the spell to send you to your destination. You'll be sending us to Jockey? Danny asks. Why send us today? The tournament doesn't start for 9 more days. Because of the restrictions placed upon Jockey by ancient Yazatan magic, we cannot send you directly to the island. You will need to travel by ship like all the other competitors. Oh, Danny says, disappointed. I guess I'd better get ready. With that, she leaves the audience of the elders to rejoin her friends. What do you think their chances are? Elder Pola asks. I doubt any of them will even make it to the island, Elder Guerin says. Without magic, Apprentice Livingston will not be able to put up much of a fight against the kinds of monsters that are surely to be interested in the tournament. If we sent a few knights or even masters with them, it would drastically increase their chances of survival, Elder Giaconda says. It may, but it would be sacrificing whoever we selected to go with them. Let me be absolutely clear about this. Anyone that goes to Jockey is not going to be coming back alive. Better we send only those we can afford to lose. The loss of our young mages will be mourned, but we can recover from that loss. Losing even one of our masters would be devastating. No, we shall not be sending anyone else on that suicide mission. We must also consider what Lieutenant Nando has brought before us, Elder Pola says. If these D-Inferni pose as great of a threat as Vadis believes, we may need every available knight and master in order to combat them. Elder Guerin nods. I am far more concerned with a threat that is connected to us directly than one that only involves the physical world. The creatures of the wastes can reach us here if they are able to get past our checkpoint guards. We must increase our security to prevent such a grim scenario. That is only if young Lieutenant Nando is correct in his assessment of the threat, Elder Favre says. We have never had any reason to doubt Vadis' judgment, Elder Giaconda says. Lieutenant Nando is one of our most respected and reliable mages. He is also very close to Apprentice Livingston, Elder Pola says. Could you not sense that he was covering for her? Regardless, we must take his warning seriously. If Apprentice Livingston is more concerned with the Sakari, then I say let her deal with them on her own, Elder Favre says. Young Apprentice Livingston was set on going with or without our approval. She made this decision for herself. She alone is going to have to live with the consequences of her recklessness, Elder Pola says. She won't be alone, Elder Giaconda says. We are sending other young mages with her, apprentices and provosts. They are all going to die with her. Do you not feel any remorse? In the bigger picture of Endelgion's health and survival, there are such things as acceptable losses. We will recruit new mages in time to replace those lost, Elder Goran says. Do you have any other concerns? No, Elder Gioconda whispers, defeated. None at all. Good. Then you can notify Master Norlanis that she will be returning to Celalait Taram immediately. Brighton, Florida, December 14th, 1998. 9 days remain until Inyana's tournament. Damn it! Kolstock shouts, staring at his phone. Jake and Bernard pause their sparring match to look over at the panicked agent. We were supposed to be at the airfield 3 hours ago. The ship is going to leave before we get there if we don't bust ass and hurry. Really? Jake asks, out of breath. Must have lost track of time training. That just shows that our training has been effective, Bernard says. Come on, we have to leave right now, Kolstock says. If we miss that boat, we'll be in big trouble. Inyana specifically named the departing locations and times. Do you suspect why she did that? Jockey Island's hidden by magic. She must have enchanted the ships that will go to the island. If we take a different boat, we won't be able to find the island at all, Jake says. Or be killed by the dangerous storms that are said to appear out of nowhere in the area where Jockey's supposedly located, Bernard says. Even if we could find the coordinates of the island, the protections put in place by the Yazata would ensure that we couldn't proceed any further. Why do they care that much about keeping humans away from the island? Jake asks. Not just humans, Alyssa says. Only the Yazata can access Jockey Island without being repelled by the various magical protections and unnatural storms. To protect the Banu Kazka, Bernard says, the Yazata hid it away from all non-divine beings. According to the legends, the spells protecting the resting place of that weapon bars even the Yazata themselves from entering, Kolstock says. Why not just destroy it? Jake asks. Why would they keep something that dangerous in existence? Bernard shrugs. Who knows? Never did understand the motives of divine beings. At least with monsters, their motives are simple. Kill for food, power, or revenge. They rarely deviate from this blueprint. But the Yazata, those bastards are out there playing 4D chess with all of us. As Jake is led outside by Agent Kolstock, he sees a pair of black SUVs idling across the street and chuckles to himself. Is it a rule you feds have to drive those? Jake asks. They come part of the uniform, Kolstock says, straightening his jacket. Are you ready? He asks, opening a car door for the team. Jake shrugs. I wouldn't mind a little longer to train, but if we don't get on that ship, the training I did manage to get will all be for nothing if they leave me behind. Even if we missed the departure, we couldn't follow the ship by air? Only so far, Kolstock says. At some point before reaching the island, the three of you will have to get on board in order to become protected by Inyana's magic. Only the three of us? Jake asks, concerned. No one else would stand a chance at surviving long enough to make a difference. We may be training a new generation of assets, but the three of you have a distinct advantage at having been warriors to begin with. It's going to take more time to train up the rest of these recruits to even come close to approaching your level, Kolstock says. I was hardly a warrior before, Jake admits. I played video games with my friends and watched pro wrestling. You act like I've been throwing hands since kindergarten. You still have more battle experience than most elite soldiers. The threats you've faced are leagues above what any normal human would even encounter in their lifetime. And you? Jake turns to Bernard and Alyssa. You're going through with this? Training me is one thing, but going with me to Jockey Island is something else entirely. Trust me, the two of us can handle ourselves, Bernard says with a smile. The entire island is going to be crawling with monsters of all kinds. I don't think anyone can be ready to handle that. Not even myself. Monsters that we've faced before and you haven't, Bernard argues. We're better prepared for this than you, kid. Don't you worry about them. This is what these two are trained for. This is their entire life. They come from an ancient clan of monster hunters. They're going to be better assistants than you think, I'm sure of it. The trip to Jockey won't be a short one, Bernard says. We will have several more days to continue training and preparations. Kolstock nods. Once on the ship, you'll have roughly 9 days at sea to train as you please. Jake shakes his head. A spell is locking my full potential away. I'm not sure how much of a handicap I've got, but it definitely puts me below Inyana's weight class. If my mother hadn't interfered, Inyana would have won that battle, even back then. I was never stronger than her, even at my best. Agent Kolstock is troubled by this revelation. How do you match up with Hui? Any better? I was stronger than him before my power was sealed. Now? I'm not sure. You better be sure. Look, kid, if shit gets too rough, there's no way for us to pull you out. You'll be stuck on Jockey until the tournament is over. The magic of that island prevents us from finding it on any sea charts, and it's surrounded by powerful storms. The only way out is the way that you came in. Pulling out isn't very effective anyways, Jake mutters. Agent Kolstock sighs loudly, palming his face. Do you ever stop? I liked you better when I thought you were a homicidal monster. Well, he's always just a heartbeat away. If you could scale that revenant creature that we defeated to either Inyana or Hui, how would it compare? Alyssa asks. I'm also curious, Kolstock admits. It'd be nice to be able to report something positive back to my superiors. Telling them you aren't as strong as the Sakari isn't going to give them much reassurance. What exactly do they need reassurance of? That our time spent on you was time well invested. If you don't stand a chance at winning the tournament, we need a backup plan in place. I will win the tournament, believe that, Jake says confidently. Now, that Revenant thing was probably about 20 to 25% of Hui's strength when I fought him. If I had my full unbound power, I think I could have one-shotted it. The decrease in your power was that drastic? Bernard asks, surprised. Jake nods. I was out of control. I hurt a lot of people. Danny spellbound most of my power. It's been a real uphill climb trying to get my body back into any kind of fighting shape. Honestly, the two of you have helped with that tremendously. I can't thank you enough. I can't believe that boy was pushing us so hard while fighting with a literal handicap, Bernard thinks. How strong would he be at max power? Even if we were serious, I don't think we could have easily defeated him if he was even 10% stronger than he is in his current condition. They climb into one of the SUVs. I'm mastering my energy control and my emotions, even down to less than half of my full power. I think I can become a more capable fighter than I ever was before. I may have had raw destructive power, but I was little more than a mindless beast. The negative emotions had consumed me fully. I don't think Hui or anyone else is going to expect that level of heat I'm going to be able to bring in our fights. Winning isn't always about who's stronger. It helps, Kolstock says. Jake nods. It does. I would prefer to be a lot stronger going into this, but we've run out of time. You cannot tap into any of that inner power, not even a little? Bernard asks. Jake shakes his head. The blood magic seal is inscribed on my soul. I'd have to die before that magic could be undone. I'm not even sure Danny herself could be able to lift it if she wanted it. Could that spell be used to bind the power of Hui or Inyana? Alyssa asks. It took Danny dream-walking through my mind to pull it off. Unless someone else can put the Sakari to sleep, I'd say our chances of that are nil. It doesn't matter, Bernard says. If we do our part to clear the way for him, Jake will be able to save his strength for Hui and Inyana. We still have a good shot at this. How would you compare yourself to Inyana now? Do you think you could beat her this time around on your own? Jake shakes his head. She'd still mop the floor with me. I'm not even back to the same strength I had facing Hui just a short time ago. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth. And Yana also won't have the weakness she had before, by being trapped in the body of a human. There'll be no fighting for control, or me getting unexpected help through the host's soul fighting back. If I'm going to win this time, it's going to be through guts, hard work, and strategy. Conserve as much of your strength as you can, Colstock says. Their job is to make sure you stay fresh for your final fight. If it's a tournament, they can't fight my battles for me, Jake argues. If I want to face Hui, I'm going to have to earn my own opportunities. This isn't some game, kid, Colstock says, concerned about Jake's seriousness. The entire world is at risk. But it is a game, Jake replies. And Yana chose to make it that way. She's so confident that we aren't a threat that she's just toying with us. Before Colstock can respond, Jake cuts him off. Look, I'm still going to take this seriously. I want nothing more in this world than to kill the both of them. I'm not going to screw this chance up. It most likely is my last one. Don't worry, Bernard says. We'll keep an eye on the boy. Even if we cannot fight his opponents in the tournament, we can make sure that he isn't attacked in between matches or screwed over by some outside interference. We cannot expect the Sakari to find any kind of sportsmanship or rules. It's not just me or even America that's counting on the three of you, Colstock says. Inyana's tournament is a threat to all of humanity. Depending on the outcome, we may be facing a full-scale, extinction-level event. No pressure, right? Jake sighs. I wish I could say that, but no, you're carrying the weight of the entire world on this one, kid. You won't be shouldering that burden alone, Bernard says, putting a hand on Jake's shoulder. You can count on us for support in this, in any ways that we can. Jake isn't so sure. If he could have any backup, he'd prefer Danny as his wingman. Even though they have a rocky history, he does not doubt her ability or determination one bit. Having someone he doesn't know at his six makes the teen nervous. If things do take a turn for the worse, will his allies be a help or a hindrance? His mind begins to wander to his training in the PIA facility. He wishes he had had more time for training. The sparring matches he had with Alyssa and Bernard were short, but very instructive. His body was able to learn and adapt in combat much more easily than if he were simply trying to train on his own. Pushing himself past his limits again and again, Jake hopes that he was able to break the ceiling holding him back. The fights on Jockey are going to be intense. If he isn't at his absolute best, he won't survive long enough to get his rematches with Inyana or Hui. World of Celalait, Taram, Kingdom of Itadale, capital city of Bayrest. Master Giancarlo Norlanus arrives in the Kingdom of Itadale in the world of Celalait, Taram in a flash of bright light, via the teleportation circle. There's only one of these circles in all of Endelgian, connecting the Hall of the Elders to the royal palace of King Pharaoh Greguis III of Itadale. The humans of Itadale are all descendants from the mages of Earth that explored the land of the Fae thousands of years ago. Now there are many great cities of man in Celalait, Taram, and they live mostly in harmony with the native Fae beings. Master Norlanus appears in the audience chamber of Greguis' court. The king and several advisors are gathered. As soon as the mage appears, the royal guards draw their swords in alarm. Everyone, lower your swords, King Gregorus says. Master Lord Norlanus is always a welcomed guest in this castle. Thank you, Your Highness, Giancarlo says, bowing with respect. The king's daughters, Haydn and Kehana, rush to the master's side, hugging her tightly. Auntie Giancarlo, they both shout. It's good to see you girls, Giancarlo says. She studies the young women closely. My, how you've both grown. The girls have asked many times when you would be coming back to visit, King Gregorus says, laughing. Master Norlanus' expression becomes serious. I apologize that I have not come solely for such joyous reunions. The king nods in understanding. We too have heard of the Sakari's competition in Kishar. An ambassador of the Alifar informed us of the announcement. Then you know the horrible creatures that will be drawn to the human world for a chance at Yazatan power. Humanity has few allies outside of this realm. My ancestors are a testament to that alliance, the king says. As are all of ours, he addresses the room. What befalls the humans of Kishar also endangers us here in Itadale. We stand united with our cousins, and pledge our assistance in any way that you may need it. Giancarlo is surprised by this. She came only to ask that the Fae not become involved, not recruit assistance for humanity. Oh, she whispers. We are sending a team of young mages to enter the tournament, but for reasons I do not understand, the elders commit no masters or knights to Jockey Island. Without mages of your experience and skill, Endelgian will be sorely underrepresented, the court magician, Petron the chorus says. Petron is an elderly man with tufts of long gray hair sticking from the sides of his face. On the top of his head, the man is completely bald. He is plagued by back problems and stands hunched, supported by a wooden cane. Many of us wish to enter, but have been forbidden, Giancarlo says. The king smiles. Then the humans of Kishar are lucky that Itadale is not beholden to the rules of Endelgian's elders. Master Norlanus bows her head in respect. Thank you, Your Highness. The Alifar ambassador should still be in the city, the king tells one of his royal guards, a large and sturdy knight named Sir Jamrick Darren. Please find him and bring him back here straight away. Tell him that I have made my decision in regards to his queen's proposition. Sir Jamrick nods. At once, Your Highness. Were the Alifar entering a combatant themselves? Giancarlo asks. The Alifar sent ambassadors to the Jotnar, the Verger, Salif, and the Kailani, as well as here in Itadale in the kingdom of Aishireen, to form an alliance to enter the tournament to win the Yazatan prize for our unified victory over Nalzesh and his corruption. Queen Silrona also believes that weapon would be highly useful in liberating Celalait Taram from the Vanir, King Gregorus says. The Yazata of the 11th Choir, led by the Archie-General Vanicon, were long ago given the assignment of hunting down and eliminating a group of Aesir who had declared themselves gods and formed entire civilizations of humanity around their worship. Not long after human mages began exploring Celalait Taram and forming settlements, did a handful of the Aesir begin drawing their devotion. The Aesir were benevolent towards the humans, helping them to grow food and protect them from the unfamiliar threats of the Fey world. When the Vanir returned from their assignment, they learned of this group of Aesir who had made Celalait Taram their home and waged war on them. Locked in a stalemate for centuries, the Vanir and the Aesir have kept their focus on each other, thus allowing the Dark Fae, previously kept under control by the Aesir, to grow in strength. By ridding Celalait Taram of the Vanir, the inhabitants of the world hope to be able to restore the Aesir to prominence and regain control over the balance of good and evil around them. As the powers of the Dark Fae grow, the benevolent Fae beings dwindle in equal response. If one of our mages were to win the tournament, would that create any animosity between humanity and the Alethar? Giancaela asks. I'm unsure. The ambassador had not been in contact with the delegations to the other races when we spoke, King Gregorus says. It would greatly benefit humanity for Endelgian to be made a part of this Alethar alliance. Strength in numbers may be the only advantage we will end up having. Monsters do not tend to work well together, but if any of the Dark Fae choose to participate, they have a much better defined hierarchy than the creatures of your homeworld. Is the king of the Svartalfar still in charge of the Dark Fae? The king nods. King Nalzesh of Londokum is in power over all of the Dark Fae. He has also formed an alliance with King Barluin of Hakika. If Nalzesh so desired, he could not only send a massive delegation to the tournament, he could also use his forces to attempt to conquer all of the Kishar realm. Why has he not done so then? Giancaela asks. What is keeping him from attacking us? The power of the Fae has always remained in balance. As one of the light is born, so must also be of darkness. The presence of the Vanir has kept the Aesir from maintaining that balance. It is the gods of Celalait Taram that dictate when a new Fae is born. Unable to focus on their ancient duties, the Aesir have slowly allowed the Dark Fae to outnumber the Light. The Light Fae no longer have the strength or the numbers to stop Nalzesh. He knows this. He will use the tournament as an opportunity to gain even greater strength, Petron says. So you have more motive for entering the Sakari tournament than simply assisting us, Giancaela says, smirking. The king chuckles. You seem to have gotten me on that one, but it changes nothing. Either we stop a monster from winning the tournament, or we stop Nalzesh from winning. Either way, Kishar is safe. I would like to speak to the other members of the delegation. There are further details that I must know before committing fully to an alliance. King nods. Understandable. I have sent for the Alethar ambassador. I hope that he will soon arrive. Celalait Taram, the kingdom of Hakika. In a kingdom rivaling Doyle across the Sea of Cortosis is another population of humans, also descended of the mages. These humans have long embraced darker magics, and aligned themselves against Doyle and the Fae. The king of Hakika, himself a powerful sorcerer, possesses a second teleportation circle, unknown to the elders of Endelgian, or the people of Doyle. It seems all of the realms are abuzz about the Sakari's tournament. Advisor to King Barluin, Sildethus, Brales Craduert, says. Craduert is a diminutive Fodden creature, one of the many goblin kin Dark Fae. The Fodden tend to live underground, yet Craduert deals with the extra stinging light of the upper world in order to maintain its position of power in the Hakika kingdom. It would be a missed opportunity for Hakika to not send our own representative. Don't you think? King Barluin asks. Craduit nods. Yes, sire. It would send a powerful message to Gregorus for Hakika to win the competition. That it would. I suspect Gregorus will send his own representation. We must learn who it is he intends to enter. If we can kill Itadale's entrant before the tournament, Aikika will gain a strong foothold in the Kishar realm. I will dispatch spies to Itadale immediately. We will soon learn who it is Gregory selects. With this information, we will be able to choose who will be best suited to counter them. Martinsburg, West Virginia, December 14th, 1998. PIA magical consultant Erica Melanie holds her hands out, focusing all of her magical energy and concentration on suturing the wound torn into reality. Lights and colors swirling like infinite galaxies within a kaleidoscope sparkle from the fissure. It's actually the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Agent Jeremy Phyllis says, staring into the tear. Don't stare directly into the fissure, Agent Melanie warns. You'll become mesmerized and drawn in. If you cross over, there will be no getting you back. If you're lucky, you'll be eaten by revenants immediately. If I'm lucky, you won't age or die in the wastes. If you aren't devoured, you'll wander the emptiness alone for all eternity. Wait, devoured? Agent Phyllis says, frightened. Agent Melanie nods. Yeah, by all the revenants and other undead monsters that call the Yetzira home. They constantly seek out life energy to consume and draw stronger. Did you not read the briefing? Agent Phyllis is about to reply when a large clawed hand reaches through the fissure and begins pulling its spindly body closer. Agent Melanie strains, the creature ripping open the magical suture she has already sewn. What the fuck is that? Agent Phyllis shouts, firing several times without effect at the beast. It's some kind of astral creature, Agent Melanie strains, trying to fight back and continue closing the fissure. It's stronger than anything I've ever dealt with before. The creature's head peers through the fissure, insect-like, sickly green in color, the long neck and dozens of spiky protrusions running down the length of its spine. The beast is a horrific sight. Gangly arms reach out trying to grab the humans. Close it! Agent Phyllis screams, still shooting. I'm trying, Agent Melanie says, struggling. It's overpowering my magic. Agent Phyllis grabs his radio. Code 3 emergency. ERT needed immediately. NHE coming through the wound, hot. I repeat, hostile NHE engaged at the side of the wound. The creature impales the agent from behind with its clawed fingers and flings him across the room. Agent Melanie screams out, switching her focus from the fissure to combat. You are a magic user, the creature says, looking at her with intelligence. Agent Melanie is stunned to encounter a creature of the wastes that can speak. For a long time, I only hunted magic users. The creature muses about its days long past. Now, I do not require hunting at all. The D Inferni named Morta grins as its full body crawls through the fissure. Morta is the 13th D Inferni to evolve into existence. Hunting now is for pleasure. A second member of the D Inferni appears. This one is a gnarled mass of vines and roots, barely recognizable as any humanoid figure within. Its voice is deep and echoes from within its core as it speaks, vines stretching out and curling back with each inflection. Did you leave only one alive for me? The Inferni, Kerez asks. There were only two to begin with, Morta growls. We will find others. The mortal realm is filled with more life energy than ever before. Karez sniffs the air.
I smell magic.
Morta nods, stabbing a clawed finger through Agent Melanie's shoulder and pinning her to a wall.
This one was trying to close the doorway.
We cannot allow you to do that,
Karez says, creeping closer.
The rest of our kind must also taste of this world again.
Agent Melanie screams out in horror, attempting to strike the creatures with flame magic from her free hand. The spell is absorbed into the auras of the Inferni.
We evolved from Draugr,
Karez says.
Your magic cannot hurt us.
Desperate, the mage attacks again and again, cycling through every offensive magical spell she's ever learned. The woman puts up a furious struggle. In the end, nothing she can muster is enough to harm the Inferni.
You are only wasting your energy,
Karez says.
You cannot harm us. Save that energy so that we can savor your magical flavor.
Agent Melanie screams her silence as the mage is torn apart by the creatures from the wastes. With their successful infiltration into the world of the living, the Inferni spread out in search of more victims. Under orders of the king, the human world is now under occupation by the Inferni. One by one, the human cities will fall, and all souls will be swallowed up. The king and the Inferni will grow in strength to such heights that not even the Yazata will be able to step in and interfere with their conquest. It will take quite a while for the Yazata to even notice something is wrong with the tournament happening on Jockey Island and the mobilization of so many non-human entities across the globe. The Yazata will be so overwhelmed that they will be unable to distinguish one source of non-human power from any other. The spectral form of Bai Wuchang next steps through the fissure and assesses the situation, glancing about the area to see the two slain human magic users.
Is that all of them? All we sense nearby. There are lingering traces of some stronger humans, but they have already left,
Morta replies.
Should we track them down?
No, Bai Wuchang says. Those were not our orders. Search the buildings for the items specified by the doctor, and return to the Yetzira immediately. Morta sighs with disappointment.
You are taking all of the fun out of this trip. I thought coming to the human world would be an opportunity for mayhem.
Soon, but not yet. We still have other preparations to make before the king issues his declaration of war. Silver Fox Base, undisclosed location, United States of America. Silver Fox personnel work around the clock to clean up after the devastation caused by the pseudo-infernal Kishin. A biohazard team disposes of the bodies of staff killed during the battle. While not in any way ideal circumstances, Fox cannot send the corpses back to their families to be properly buried. There are too many unknowns and too many questions that would be asked due to the condition of the bodies. If this was related to the devil attack previously, our enemy is now employing other supernatural creatures and the undead against us, Leinster Fox says, pushing down all of his emotions to remain as stoic and collected as ever. We received reports from across the world of multiple other attacks of a similar nature, Mulder says, sitting in his partially destroyed desk. No fewer than 5 additional powerful revenant creatures attacked high-density population centers before abruptly vanishing as suddenly as they appeared. The death count is estimated to be in the thousands.
Jesus, Gator whispers in horror. We got off easy.
I expect this to have only been a trial run, Mulder adds. Based on the available data, these creatures seem to be testing our responses. Both Fox and Gator say nothing, taking it all in. So now we have to figure out if our response was good or bad, Royce speaks up. And how our response is going to influence their next move, Pierce says. So, do we wait for our enemy to make a third attack? Or do we finally get on the offensive? Welker asks. Gator stares at the biohazard team carrying out the mummified corpses of drained agents and quickly draws his Yazatan blade, holding the weapon out towards an unseen foe. I'm tired of being reactionary. It's time for us to be proactive. World of Celalait, Taram, capital city of Doyle Kingdom, Bayrest. A tall, thin figure in a green robe enters the king's hall, followed by Sir Jamrick Darren. Welcome back, Sir Elnoran, the king says with respect. The Alafar ambassador, Elnoran Felthrondish, lowers his hood of his robe, revealing long pointed ears and shining blonde hair. Bing's skin is without blemish, and its features very soft and feminine despite being addressed as a male. The Alafar are what are known to the humans of the Kishar realm as elves. I was just about to return to Amon Seren when your man approached me, Elnoran says. How can I be of further assistance? The king looks over to Master Norlanis and nods. Go ahead. Mr. Ambassador, Giancarlo begins, I am from Endelgium, the citadel of mages connected to Kishar, Elnoran says in recognition. We are aware of your people. I came here to ask the Fae to refrain from entering the tournament on Jockey Island, but it was made known to me that the Alafar have already taken it upon themselves to build an alliance to ensure the tournament is not won by any being of darkness. That is correct, Elnoran says. My brothers have successfully recruited the greatest warriors of the Jotnar and Salif to our cause. What of the Diverger and Kailani? King Gregorius asks. I have been unable to reach the ambassadors sent to Sinamur and Verosing. King Carnathrad of the Al-Shireen Alafar declined to join our alliance. Are we all in agreement as to who claims the Yazatan prize? Should one of your alliance wins the tournament? Elnoran seems irritated by the question. Queen Silrona undoubtedly will receive the prize no matter who wins. It was she who came up with this alliance. Only she is strong enough in Fey magic to be able to face Vanicon of the Vanir. Giancarlo wonders if this point is why the Alafar of Al-Shireen refused to join the alliance. King Carnthrad Forca would surely wish to wield an all-powerful Yazatan weapon over the queen of a rival Alafar kingdom. If humanity were also to join your alliance, it would be required of us to relinquish the Yazatan artifact to Queen Silrona as well? Giancarlo asks. Of course, Elnoran says, annoyed. But I do not think that we will have to worry about that scenario. He adds very snarkily. No human is going to win a competition with Alafar, Jotnar, and Salif participating. His laughter begins to anger the overwhelmingly human crowd in the main hall. Noticing this, he backs off. We are allies. Should we face each other, we will not battle to the death. The Alafar honor our alliances through blood of our ancestors. It is better to lose in battle than to dishonor an alliance. I am sure our mages will also honor this agreement, Giancarlo says with a nod. Who will Queen Silrona be sending to represent Shireen? King Gregorius asks. The twins have already been selected, Elnoran says, drawing a shocked gasp from the crowd. The twins are young by elf standards, only 80 years old, but they are accomplished adventurers skilled in combat and Fey magic. The twins are famous across all of Celalait Taram for their adventures. Is it wise sending those two? King Gregorus asks. The twins are extravagant. They've never been known to take such a daunting assignment before. Can they handle a serious mission such as this? The Queen has faith in them, Elnoran says. That is good enough for me. Who will you be sending? Jane Kayla asks the king. I cannot devote too many men to this task. Unfortunately, Haikika is always looking for an opportunity to strike us when they think we are our weakest. I must keep it to Doyle under full protection. Sir Jamrick will join the alliance with a handful of carefully selected knights. We must also be aware of the possibility of further skewing the balance of light and dark in this world, Elnoran says. That is why Queen Silrona has stated no group may commit more than 2 or 3 champions to the alliance. If we somehow fail to return, the Dark Fae will gain an enormous amount of power just from our small contingent. That is, unless Nalzesh also sends a large force, King Gregorus says. Elnoran nods. We are all playing a delicate game of chess. Predicting our enemies' moves correctly will determine who succeeds. The king orders a large feast to celebrate their alliance with Shireen and the other races against Nalzesh, and whatever monsters are within the Kishar realm. Elnoran excuses himself while the feast is being prepared to commune with his brethren. The Alifar removes a large seed from a leather satchel and buries it in the dirt. He empties a water skin over the seed and uses a magical command to cause the seedling to grow. Allah, Elnoran says, causing the seedling to grow rapidly. As the seedling becomes a small tree, Elnoran places his forehead against the trunk and closes his eyes. Elnoran, the voice of Queen Silrona Diala of Shireen says from the tree. In her throne room stands a massive tree of the same variety. It is the seeds of this tree that allow the Alifar to communicate over great distances. The humans of Kishar have come to us for help. In return for our assistance, they will hand over the Yazdan weapon, regardless of who wins. That is good, Queen Silrona says. Only with a Yazdan weapon will I finally be able to slay Vanikon and drive the Vanir from our land. Long have the Yazata overstayed their welcome here. The Aesir did us no evil, and with them in charge our world flourished. It is the Yazata and their zealotry that have damaged the fragile balance of light and dark in Celalait Taram. If they are not soon removed, Nalzesh will grow too powerful to defeat. The tournament begins in 10 Kishar days. That gives us roughly 1 month to gather our delegation together and depart for Jockey. The twins are finishing up with a horde of trolls in La Gavant, and will depart for Itadale shortly. What of the delegations sent to Sanilmir and Verosing? Have you heard anything from them? There have been no new seedlings grown in the lands of Devergir or the Kailani. I am in the dark as well. Neither of those races have ever been known to align with the Savartvar. Why would they harm our ambassadors? We cannot jump to conclusions. We do not know for sure if Kiar or Aperos even reach their destinations. All I can do is send more of our people to investigate. It will be too late for the support of the Vergar or the Kailani to be added to our alliance, but we may at least learn what happened. Elnoran pauses, hearing the slight change in the air movement. The Alifar pivots, hurling a small knife into the darkness. A pained shriek erupts as the blade pierces a gruesome floating eye. Elnoran withdraws his knife and crushes the creature beneath his foot. Spies of Nalzesh are lurking about. He must be trying to gauge his response to the tournament by ours. Had we committed a greater force, he would have just used the opportunity to wage war here on us. Now that he has learned of our small group, he will be more cautious to leave his own kingdom unprotected, Queen Sorona says. This may work well for us, Elnoran says. If we can eliminate a few of Nalzesh's warriors, then all of our champions return. We can shift the balance back more in our favor. Queen Sorona is quiet for a moment, deep in thought. Dear child, do not think this assignment is going to be easy. Not only are we not guaranteed victory, it is most likely that most of our alliance will perish on Jockey. How? The Kishar realm is weak in Fey magic. The humans and creatures that live there are no match for us. There are beings in Kishar far more powerful than human or Fey. There are Yazata like the Vanir, that became so single-minded in their purpose that they lost sight of all else. In Kishar, these Yazata became the Devilnay, and their strength alone is greater than any of the Vanir, save for Vanakon himself. That cannot be, Elnoran whispers. Even in Kishar, the Yazata oppress life? The Yazata are highly flawed beings. They are made to be hyper-focused and stubborn in their beliefs. That is why the Vanir were sent to quell an uprising of Aesir, declaring themselves gods, and came here to kill our Aesir afterwards. They were never ordered to come to this world, but they took their mission to wipe out the Aesir to be a greater purpose, and have not relented in their siege of Lord Woden's castle in over 2,000 years. Can any of us kill a Yazata? Elnoran asks, concerned. We have tried to liberate the Aesir in the past, and our entire forces were obliterated without the felling of a single of the Vanir. It will not be easy. The devils, however, have one weakness the Vanir do not. Devils must survive in Kishar by using human hosts. Destroy their vessels beyond repair, or exercise their spirit through magic. That is how you will overcome the devils. I must return to the humans. I thank you for your guidance, my queen. The kingdom of Haikika. The Diogen howls in pain as the empty socket where its left eye belongs begins to bleed. My eye! The dark fey creature cries out. It seems as though our spy has been discovered, King Barlowin says. No matter, Credort says with a shrug. We have already learned the opposition forces Queen Sorona is sending to Kishar. A black tree rests in the center of the throne room, allowing them to communicate with their ally, King Nalzesh of the Svartalfar. With a group that small, we cannot afford to move a full legion into Kishar, Nalzesh says. Like the Alifar, he is wiry, has feminine features, but the Svartalfar's skin is a dark shade of gray, and his hair is pure white. No more than 3 Alifar, a Jotnar, a handful of Salif, and some humans, Credort laughs. What a pathetic alliance. Tactically, it was the wiser move, Nalzesh says. By keeping their group small, they have forced me into keeping most of my army in Nimdwin. Surely Queen Sorona came up with the strategy herself. Do we need to send anyone at all? King Barlowin asks. We could just use this opportunity to attack Itadale. No, Nalzesh says. I still would like to get my hands on that Yazatan weapon, and deprive Sorona of it. We will send an appropriate force to deal with hers. What do you suggest? A pair of Kegagark ogres would nullify any strength advantage the Jotnar gives our enemies. To deal with the Salif, I think a single Daitangu would be adequate. And the Alifar? King Barlowin asks. I recognize the twins. They are renowned adventurers and are known for being highly skilled fighters. And unruly, Nalzesh argues. The experience of a seasoned warrior should put those children in their place. I will send the captain of my guard, Mindu Focino, to handle them. What about the human mages? King Barlowin asks, still concerned. Both Nalzesh and Cradort begin laughing. The humans? We have no reason to fear the humans. A pair of Wabhak could wipe their greatest mages out, Nalzesh says, barely able to catch his breath. King Barlowin frowns, irritated by the disrespect. He wonders if the Fae's overconfidence will hurt their chances for ultimate victory. He keeps his concerns to himself for the time being. We will need to locate this jockey island for fast travel, Cradward says. Being late to the tournament because we got lost would be an embarrassment. I will put all of my sages on this task, King Barlowin says. This island is likely a waypoint of magical energy in Kishar. It should not be too difficult to detect. Whatever plan she had, I am sure the Sakari will regret broadcasting her message so widely, Cradward says. I am sure she never thought that Fae in Kishar would report the information back to you. It is highly beneficial to maintain some presence in other realms, Nalja says, proud of his own foresight. I am privy to a great many things I should likely not know. What will you do with the Yazatan weapon? King Barlowin asks. The Alifar wish to use it to remove the Vanir. But what need do you have for such power? Just with the presence of the Vanir, your forces are already winning. The Vanir do not know they are assisting me by oppressing the Aesir. They care only about their mission. When the Fae have all been eliminated, I will remove the Vanir myself. Then I will finally wipe out the Aesir. No gods or Yazata will rule over Celalait Taram. I will bring about a new age ruled entirely by the Savat Alfar. He glances at King Barlowin, who looks nervous. Nalzesh smiles apologetically. And my allies, of course. We do not know the strength of our enemies, King Barlowin says, still nervous. How do we judge an appropriate response? We nearly need to match what the other races of our world send as champions. Defeating the other Fae will be far more challenging than whatever simple creatures live in the human world. Surely they cannot be powerful in a world where the Fae are barely even present and magic is a hidden and rare ability. Our world has cultivated tremendous magical powers. Only one from Celalait Taram will be strong enough to be declared the winner of their competition. Yet Zira the Wastes. Tezcatlipoca paces outside the throne room where the king and his D'inferni are gathered. Ilizanami approaches, seeing his fellow pseudo-infernal distressed. What is it? Ilizanami asks. Tezcatlipoca is irritated by Ilizanami's presence. The pseudo-infernal is filled with jealousy and resentment, for not just Ilizanami, but all others of his kind. We were created to be equal to them in power, so why are we kept as outsiders? Why are we refused a number or rank? I suppose it has something to do with their evolutions being natural, Ilizanami shrugs. We are still a new and frightening concept to the old guard. They fear they will become obsolete and replaced. Good, Tezcatlipoca says. They should fear us. We have only begun our journey. They have peaked in their old age, but we have nothing but progress ahead of us. We were born with power rivaling theirs, and only become stronger with each kill we make. It is only a matter of time before we surpass the upper five, and even the king himself in power. You need to be careful saying such things, the doctor says from behind. Both pseudo-infernals turn around in surprise. "You are not in there with them?" Tezcatlipoca asks. The doctor shakes his head. "My former humanity carries with it an even greater prejudice than your youth or creation method. Only the king truly understands the value I bring. It would be wise to keep yourselves within his good graces. I have a feeling that soon he will have need of strong warriors to replenish his numbered ranks." "Why do you say that?" Il-Zanami asks. "I thought the Inferni have ruled this world unopposed for millennia." "Not unopposed," the doctor says. "The mages of Endogien have been a frequent obstacle for their expansion. Each time the king attempts to grow his empire, he has been fought and pushed back beyond their checkpoints." "And you believe he will soon attempt another expansion?" Tezcatlipoca asks. The doctor nods. "I may not be as strong as any of his Inferni, but I am always listening and gathering information. A very big operation is in the works, one that is guaranteed to see high casualties on both sides." "They're going to war with the mages," Tezcatlipoca says. The doctor grins. "It would seem that way. The king is adamant that I produce more powerful warriors for him as quickly as possible." "We will fill out his ranks until only your creations remain," Tezcatlipoca says. "That is your plan, isn't it?" The doctor continues to grin. "You are a clever one. But say no more of this, or you will never have the opportunity to be among their ranks." Both pseudo-infernals bow their heads and speak in unison. "Yes, master." The Inferni begin to exit the throne room, exchanging looks of hatred and disgust with the pseudo-infernals and the doctor. Only the upper five remain in the king's presence as the doctor makes his entrance. "My king," the doctor bows in reverence to the king in the dark. "Stand," the king says, to which the doctor immediately obliges. It is clear that the former human has retained a great deal of his pride, and it pains him to be subservient to another. "How goes your progress?" "The materials that your Inferni have supplied me with have greatly sped up my efforts. The third generation of Infernals is nearly complete. I am quite confident that the results will be to your satisfaction, much more so than the test run of my first creations. Now that I have laid the groundwork, this generation is not simply trying to imitate that which already exists. Unlike the natural-born first generation, or my created second generation, these Infernals have been meticulously crafted with specific goals in mind." "Were you able to implement my one request?" the king asks. The doctor nods. "I have. Each of the third-generation Infernals carries with them a portion of your soul." This news startles the upper five. Cautiously, they know better than to speak up. If it was the king's idea, then he must have a plan in mind. "I will be connected to my soldiers in a way that I have never been before. I will be able to see and feel what they experience. They will share in my power, and as they grow stronger, so shall I." "It is as you say, my king," the doctor bows his head. "They will serve you well." Magical City of Endogien, outside the Hall of Elders, December 14th, 1998. With the clock winding down towards the start of Manana's tournament, the mages assigned to Danny's strike team begin to gather at the teleportation circle, prepared outside the Hall of the Elders. Typically, a team is deployed from the barracks of the Knights of Solomon, but this time the Elders have taken steps to prep the team and connect the spell to the tanker ship departing from California. Danny arrives at the circle with Allura, seeing that the Elders are already waiting them. She finds it odd that the Elders are so invested in this aspect of the mission, when they originally had no intention of participating in the tournament at all. Pravis, Dearden Javad, and Lilium Ram approached the apprentices, having arrived a few minutes prior. "Are we ready to go?" Javad asks. "Not really, but we aren't going to be able to prepare any better than we already have," Danny says. "For better or worse, this is the condition we're entering the tournament." "Well, we'll still have a few days on the ship to prepare," Rom says. "That is, if we aren't eaten by monsters before we arrive," Javad says. Nervousness is clear in the young man's voice. "Once everyone arrives, I'm going to cast a glamour over all of us, to attempt to fool the monsters into thinking we're just like them," Allure says. "You're going to turn us into monsters?" Rom asks. "Visually, yes," Allure replies. "It'll just be an illusion spell, so our abilities won't be affected." Zaya walks over to them, smiling. "Can you make me a little taller? I've always wanted to be a little taller." "Sounds like Zaya's requesting to be turned into an ogress," Javad laughs. "You won't actually become one," Allure says. "As I said before, it's just going to be an illusion." "Well, that's disappointing," Zaya laughs. "It would have been an improvement for you," Javad laughs. "Javad says he wants to become some kind of monster that has no mouth. Can you do that?" Zaya says. More of the team slowly trickles in to the departure point. "Is it too late to back out of this?" Provost Chua Draheli asks. "Of course not," Danny says. "This mission is completely volunteer." The elders do not seem to like Danny's response. Chua sighs loudly. "I'd never be able to live it down if I dropped out and left you all hanging." "It won't matter if no one survives," Provost Jonathan Butler says as he and Provost Dane Sinnoh arrive together. "No one can blame you if they're already dead." Sinnoh puts a hand on Butler's shoulder. "You're the only one inept enough to die on this mission." "If I'm dying, I'm taking you with me," Butler laughs. "No one is going to die," Danny says, irritated. She can see the nervousness increasing among her team, and knows she needs to quell all talk of death. "We are all coming back from this mission alive." "You're either completely delusional, or lying to make us feel better if you think everyone is going to survive this mission," Sinnoh says. "Which is fine, I understand. You're just trying to ease the tension. But we all know what we're getting into." "Speak for yourself," Butler says. "I have no idea what we're getting into." "Isolated island, protected by magic. Lots of monsters that want to eat your face," Sinnoh explains. "Does that clear anything up?" "Crystal," Butler laughs. "Asshole." The final member of the team to arrive is also the one Danny is the most concerned about. While Allure and Danny are also just apprentices, their history and level of skill are much closer to that of a provost than most of the others. Caitlin Abbott has been on only one combat mission, and she was the most inexperienced member of that team. With only that single mission under her belt, she is still the most inexperienced member of this team as well. "Everyone is here," Danny says. "Gather around together. Allure is going to cast her glamour spell." "Cambia l'aspetto verdun," Allure chants, changing the appearance of the mages to a sickly green. "Sempre un folletto," she adds, adding another layer of spelling to make the mages appear goblin-like. "Non puoi ingannarsi," Allure finishes, causing only those outside of their group to see the mages as anything other than human. "I can't add much variation between us, or we'd be here for hours." Once the glamour spells are complete, the elders step forward. "You will all need to remain within the area of the spell circle completely. If you move during teleportation,
You could be displaced anywhere in the universe, Elder Gwyn explains. Before you depart, are any of you being forced against your will to go on this mission? Elder Falv asks. Does peer pressure count? Butler asks. Sinnoh punches his friend in the arm. Did you see that? I don't feel safe. The mages gather within the circle. You are going to be transported directly onto one of the departing ships, Elder Gwyn says. Be ready to fight as soon as we arrive, Danny tells her team. The glamour may not be enough to fool all of our enemies, and blipping into the middle of a crowd might paint us as especially suspicious. Better to blip into a crowd than get lost outside the spell, Butler says. That scenario is terrifying. Don't worry, sweetie. I'll hold your hand if you're scared, Sinnoh says, taunting his friend. I'd rather held onto the hand of one of these pretty ladies, Butler grumbles. And we'd rather you didn't, Rom laughs. Ouch, Butler says, holding his heart. I get no love. If you win the tournament, I'll go on a date with you myself, Provost Alcine Porter says. Hell, if you win the tournament, I'll make that a menage a trois, Rom adds. Deal, Butler grins excitedly. I'm gonna fucking win this tournament. Keep that enthusiasm, Danny says. We're gonna need it. What, no date offer from you? Allure smiles. I'd be too worried he might have enough motivation to win at that point, Danny laughs. My dreams of a harem are now crushed, Butler sighs. If you win, I'll screw you, no date needed, Zaya says, readying her sword for combat. But if you lose, I'm cutting your dick off. I don't know if I'm aroused or scared, Butler admits. But I accept your terms. Zaya chants, running her hand along the length of her blade. The enchantment symbols for undead purification, double damage, and third arm appear on the weapon. Just shut up and ready your weapon, Zaya says. Butler nods, enchanting his own blade. What are those symbols? Abbott asks. Zaya points to the first. This one is a purification spell used to damage undead beings and exorcise spirits. The middle symbol causes any hit to deal twice as much damage. The last one makes it so that I can never be disarmed or drop my weapon in battle. My sword will always return to my hand. Oh, Abbott says, eyes wide. That's so cool. Are you not using a weapon on this mission? Zaya asks. Abbott shakes her head. I've been placed in mostly support courses. My marks in physical combat have all been pretty poor, she admits with shame. Don't be so down, Zaya says. We all have areas where we are weak. We all have to specialize and focus on our strong suits. I prefer to go with flame touch rather than third arm, Butler says. Like my burning passion, my sword is also fiery. You mean flaming, Sinnoh jests. He adds the enchantments for undead purification, double damage, and parry to his own weapon. Danny adjusts her bracers and gauntlets. The magical tanks are both at 0. The first few minutes are going to be rough, she thinks. Captain Arisai and Lieutenant Nando arrive, irritating the elders with their unexpected appearance. Glad we caught you in time, Captain Arisai says. Vatus walks over to Danny, causing both Allure and Zaya to giggle. Don't do anything reckless out there. I know how you are. If you know me, then you also know how unreasonable that request is, Danny says. These are the tools Master Hagano made? Vatus asks, inspecting Danny's hands and arms. Danny nods. Every physical hit I land, the tanks will charge up with magical energy. When full, the bracers will glow brightly. Vatus grows concerned. But they aren't glowing at all. Danny looks at the ground and shuffles her feet about. I couldn't come up with an easy way to pre-charge them. Vatus takes a deep breath. Hit me. Danny's eyes widen in surprise. What? I said hit me. You can't go into this on empty. The only way to charge up is to deal physical damage, right? Yeah, but I can't hit you. And I'm telling you that you have to. This is the only way that I can help you. The elders won't let me go with you, so at least let me contribute in this way. Danny doesn't want to hurt Vatus. I don't think I can. Stop being a coward, Vatus shouts. Do you want to die? Do you want everyone on your team to die? Of course not, Danny whispers. You aren't showing it. If you aren't able to cast any spells, everything you've been through will have been for nothing. Tears in her eyes, Danny punches Vatus with a left hook. The lieutenant's head is rocked to the side, several droplets of blood escaping his lips. The charge on Danny's bracers goes up by 2%. That, Vatus says, straightening up, wasn't good enough. Elder Guerin steps forward, but Captain Erisai holds his hand out and shakes his head. Let him do this. I do not see a point in this brutality, the elder complains. She is making Lieutenant Nando and the Knights of Solomon, by extension, look weak. Captain Erisai turns to look at Guerin, staring at him with serious eyes. If that is what you take away from this, I'm sorry for you. What I see is a courageous young man putting his own body on the line, and suffering great pain and indignity to assist a friend in need. I believe young Lieutenant Nando should be commended for his actions, not chastised or looked down upon. Elder Guerin does not respond, merely grinding his teeth together in agitation. It grates upon the elder's nerves to be corrected by anyone, but he knows that he cannot speak back against the captain. Erisai is too well respected and liked for that to go over well at all. For now, he must swallow his pride and allow him to do what he sees fit. How much damage does she have to inflict to charge those things up? Provost Butler whispers. It doesn't seem very practical. At this rate, it would take an entire battle for her to charge up enough magical energy to perform a single spell. How is that thing going to be any use to us? Do you have any better method of using magic if you're unable? Zaya asks, irritated. Because if you do, I'm sure Danny would love to know. Do you think she's enjoying hurting Vatus? Think before you open your mouth next time. Danny screams, now crying completely, and hits Vatus with a series of punches. Her braces charge slowly, but Vatus continues to push her to keep attacking, even when his face is bloodied and bruised, and he is driven to his knees. Vatus refuses to allow Danny to stop. Keep going, Vatus coughs. If you don't do everything you can to be prepared, you've already failed your team. As Danny reluctantly raises her hands, her magical bracers gleaming with potential energy, she hesitates, her heart heavy with uncertainty. Vatus stands before her, his expression determined but gentle, offering himself as a willing target for Danny's magic. With each strike, Danny's heart grows heavier, her blows landing with a weight that echoes in her soul. But despite her protests and reluctance, Vatus remains steadfast, his unwavering resolve a beacon of strength and courage. Time and again, Danny delivers physical damage to Vatus, each blow charged with the raw power of her magic. With each strike, she feels a surge of energy coursing through her veins, her bracers glowing brighter with each passing moment. But even as the magic flows through her, Danny cannot shake the feeling of guilt that gnaws at her conscience. With each blow, she is reminded of the sacrifices that Vatus is making on her behalf, his willingness to endure pain and suffering for the sake of her power. Yet despite her protests, Vatus continues to rise, his determination unyielding as he urges Danny to continue. With each blow, his resolve grows stronger. His unwavering faith in Danny's ability is a testament to the bond that binds them together. And as Danny delivers the final blow, her bracers ablaze with the full force of her magic, she realizes that Vatus' sacrifice has not been in vain. With his help, she has unlocked the full potential of her power, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead with courage and determination. Though the memory of his selflessness will forever weigh heavy on her heart, she knows that she will carry it with her as a reminder of the strength and resilience of Vatus' spirit. Danny throws a final punch, collapsing onto Vatus, sobbing. Vatus embraces her, ignoring his own pain. "You've got this," Vatus whispers. "Just believe in yourself." "Thank you," Danny cries. "Bring your team back safely. That is your responsibility as team leader," Vatus says. Danny takes a moment to collect herself. "All right. I'm ready," she says, wiping the tears from her face. Rather than think her weak, the mages of Danny's team are emboldened, having a leader that cares so deeply about the mission and their safety. "Everyone link hands and stay in the circle," Elder Falv says. With hands clasped tightly together, the mages form a circle, their nerves still tingling with anticipation. The elder mages begin to chant in unison, their voices rising and falling in a rhythmic cadence that fills the hall with a hum of magic. The air crackles with energy as the elders weave the intricate threads of the teleportation spell, their words resonating with ancient power. As the chant reaches its crescendo, a bright glow envelops the circle of mages, bathing them in a shimmering light that seems to dance and flicker like flames. The air grows thick with anticipation as the elders pour their energy into the spell, their voices rising in intensity with each passing moment. With a final resounding chorus, the spell reaches its climax, and the world around the mages blurs and shifts as reality bends to their will. In an instant, they are surrounded by a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes, their senses overwhelmed by the sensation of being pulled through space and time. The air around them seems to shimmer and warp as if reality itself is bending to the will of their magic. Suddenly, the world around the mages dissolves into a whirlwind of powerful magic. They find themselves enveloped in a swirling vortex of energy, of hues dancing before their eyes like fragments of a shattered prism. Reality becomes fluid and uncertain, the boundaries between space and time blurring into an indistinct haze. As the elders chant crescendos, the mages are engulfed in the torrent of sensations, a rush of wind, a cacophony of echoing voices, and fleeting memories that are half-formed dreams. They are swept up in a hallucinogenic journey through the depths of the arcane, their minds expanding and contracting with each pulse of magic that courses through their veins. "Nixe falsa apparenza," someone chants just as the mages vanish. Captain Erisai's hand instinctively slides to the handle of his sword. He whispers important instructions to his subordinate. "Be on guard. Do not make any indication that we are suspicious of anything." "What is it?" Vatus whispers. "One of the elders dispelled the team's disguise just as they left," Akanzi whispers. "I will investigate, but now is not the time or the place. All we can do is pray for the safety of our allies. The elders want to be rid of Apprentice Livingston, but I did not think any of them would go as far as to sabotage their mission. Before we can act, I must be absolutely sure of who the culprit is. If I move too quickly and without enough evidence, the perpetrator may be able to get away with their crimes." Vatus's jaw tightens with frustration as he absorbs Captain Airside words, his mind whirring with the weight of the revelation. "But how can we uncover the truth if the elders are actively working against us?" he whispers, his voice laced with frustration. Akanzi's expression darkens, his gaze narrowing as he surveys the area with a sense of unease. "We must proceed with caution," he says, his voice low and tense. "But we must also remain vigilant. The traitor among us may be cunning, but they cannot hide their true intentions forever." The female assassin, Taylor Burns, sits cross-legged, cleaning her garrote wire and other instruments of death with a thick cloth and soapy water. Once clean, she wipes each tool thoroughly with stainless steel cleaner and another rag. Taylor sat on the floor, her array of knives and tools meticulously laid out on a black cloth before her. The apartment, dimly lit by the flickering glow of a muted television, had the faint smell of old furniture and popcorn. Her mentor, Rick, reclined on a threadbare couch, his thinning hair catching the light in uneven patches. Rick Huggins was not the one who you would expect in the company of a teenage assassin. He was neither strong nor particularly wise, his primary role often reduced to comedic relief in their odd duo. He balanced a bowl of popcorn on his belly, lazily tossing kernels into his mouth while his eyes remained glued to the TV screen. The dramatic music and contrived dialogue provided a stark counterpoint to the otherwise silent room. Taylor's focus, in stark contrast to Rick's idle demeanor, was unwavering. Each blade received meticulous attention, her hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. She wiped down a sleek dagger, inspecting it under the dim light, before setting it aside and picking up a smaller serrated knife. You ever wonder if the detectives on those shows know how over the top they come off? Rick mumbled, his gaze fixed on the TV. Taylor didn't respond, her eyes narrowing slightly as she tested the edge of another knife against her thumb. She rarely indulged Rick's inane chatter, especially when he was in the middle of her ritual. Cleaning her tools was more than just maintenance, it was preparation, a moment to center herself before the next job. Rick, oblivious to her silence, chuckled at his own comment and continued watching the show, his laughter mingling with the dialogue from the TV. The apartment's worn-out furniture and the cluttered coffee table painted a picture of the mundane, sharply contrasted by the lethal precision with which Taylor handled her blades. The soft sound of metal on cloth was the only other noise in the room, a stark reminder of the dual lives they led. While Rick found comfort in his routine of TV and snacks, Taylor's world was one of shadows and sharp edges, for every movement a blend of grace and danger. Shouldn't you be out there training or something? Rick asks, watching a crime procedural television show. I enjoy your terrific company far too much, Taylor retorts snarkily. A young girl like you, with your talents, is wasting her life spinning in a shithole like this all the time. I would argue that there aren't a lot of girls like me out there. Yeah, that's kind of my point. The whole school thing just never clicked for me. I prefer the freedom of this life anyways. The freedom to kill people? Taylor grinned psychotically. And make good money at it, too. What about that tournament of supernatural fighters? The one being held on an island? I have no interest in charity work. If someone wants me to kill one of the other entrants, now that's another story. I hear the prize will be worth the trouble. A Yazatan artifact. It might be a powerful weapon. Taylor shrugs. I don't do well with gaudy or flashy weapons. I'm good with what I got. No curiosity at all? No desire to seek out a real challenge? No, Taylor says flatly. None at all. I don't do this for honor or self-fulfillment. This is a job to me, nothing more. That's it then? Rick returns his attention to the television. I'll try to dig you up some more contracts after tomorrow when I meet with Sergei's liaison. Taylor pauses. There is one other thing. I ran into this strange creature earlier. Never seen anything like it before. I was hoping that you could ask around and dig something up for me. Am I not already doing you enough favors not charging you rent for this apartment? Taylor kisses the top of the man's balding head. You don't have anything else to do. Besides, I kill your debt collectors. The assassin's phone lights up with a received message. Flipping the device phone open, she grins devilishly. Another high-profile job. Looks like Mama's gonna eat good again this week. Be careful on those high-profile marks. They tend to get noticed quicker and by more people when they end up missing. Taylor sighed loudly, bagging up her weapons into a black duffel. Yes, Mom, she retorted, her voice dripping with mock annoyance. Rick shifted on the couch, his demeanor turning slightly more serious despite the goofy smile still lingering on his face. I'm serious. The bigger the target, the bigger the risks. Just keep your head on straight, all right? Taylor slung the duffel bag over her shoulder, her expression softening momentarily as she looked at Rick. Despite his often bumbling nature, she knew his concern was genuine. I'll be fine. I always am. As she stepped out into the dimly lit hallway, the sounds of the crime show and Rick's popcorn munching faded behind her. The cool night air greeted her as she exited the apartment complex, stark contrast to the warmth inside. Taylor inhaled deeply, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline that always accompanied a new job. She made her way to her motorcycle, parked discreetly in the alley. She knew Rick's warnings were well-founded, but she also knew her capabilities. High-risk jobs came with high rewards. She thrived on the challenge. As she revved the engine and sped off into the night, Taylor felt a familiar thrill coursing through her veins. This was her world, a blend of danger and precision, and she navigated it with the confidence that belied her age. The city lights blurred past her, a neon tapestry, guiding her to her next destination.